Well, for so long, Nigerians have feel the country has been run the same way. Regardless of political defections, coalitions, and the election of new governments, the problems have always been the same. Powers changed hands, parties regrouped to form bigger parties, but the conduct, style, and impact on the people have hardly been different. There is a need for a redirection, rejigging, and changing the discourse around Nigeria. 2023 offers yet another opportunity to achieve a positive turnaround in fortunes for the country, but there is a lot to be done before then. Welcome to Village Square Africa. I'm Sulaiman. Conversations around the 2023 elections are now in full swing. More names are emerging and faces are being put to ambitions. New political parties are coming up and the discourse is changing. On Tuesday, a new political party was founded by some of Nigeria's most respected individuals, including the former chairman of Nigeria's electoral body, Professor Atahiru Jega, respected professor of political economics, Pat Utomi, and many others. As the name of the party suggests, they are here to rescue Nigeria. Now, political movements have been formed in the last few months, with an example of that being the New Nigeria Group, led by Sam Ohuabunwa. The major political parties involved are yet to decide on their choice of candidates, despite the stance of some of their biggest stalwarts. Suggestions, submissions, insinuations keep making the rounds, all about, different political hopefuls. But the future of Nigeria is more important at this point. One of those who considers himself strong, viable, experienced, and capable enough to rewrite the Nigerian story is one of our guests today. Sam Ohuabunwa, a presidential aspirant and president, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. And of course, Liborous Oshoma, a legal practitioner. He joins me from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Gentlemen, welcome to VSA. Let me start with you, Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa. It's good to see that you're doing this because the last conversation we had was during your last book presentation. You spoke eloquently about the need for a change in Nigeria and also spoke about the leadership recruitment process. Now, you've claimed several times that it's time that the southeast of Nigeria produced a president. Was this what informed your presidential aspiration?
Thank you, Sulaiman. It's a pleasure to be back with you again on the air. For sure, my desire and motivation to offer myself for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria it has nothing to do with my ethnic origins or the issue of zoning or whatever. I want to tell you that sincerely. But the basic thing is that I have been in the system long enough, doing what I thought was mine to do, which is raise issues, just like you journalists do, offer solutions to our problems through strategic thinking, through conferences, through summits, by writing books, advocacy, MAN, NECA, Nigerian Economic Summit Group, persuading people to do what I thought was commonsensical, to build a country that was globally competitive and a country that could stand on its own, live happily with its own people, a nation that is at peace with itself and then globally competitive. But I waited and it never happened. Despite all the books I wrote, despite all my comments, all the statutes, all the summits, and all the conferences. So it kept bothering me. I kept grieving. How do we get this thing? What's the problem? So one day I came to the realization that there was no more time left to complain and groan and moan, hoping that somebody else would do it. since it's been proven that nobody is able to do it the way I was hoping it should be done, and the way most Nigerians and lovers of Nigerians hoped it would be done is not been done. This was what brought me out and say, let us go and do this job. If it has proven it difficult to do, then somebody has to do it, and I have volunteered to do it.
Well, I think it's a fine place to start. We'll come back to you. Let me bring in Liborous Oshoma, one of Nigeria's prominent voices, a legal practitioner. He's almost like yourself, but this time he's not contesting, he's not aspiring, but he's also always spoken about, you know, how things should work in Nigeria. Liborous, now listening to Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, and some of the, you know, few times you have also talked about the need for Nigeria to have, you know, new faces, new voices, new leaders to tour a different path. Tell us some of the key things when you speak about some of these issues about Nigeria's leadership and the recruitment process, which you have also advocated. What exactly do you see for the country?
Yeah, thank you, Sulaiman, and good evening, Mazi. The problem here is that a lot of people that have aspired to govern Nigeria are not in touch with the people who actually do the voting. There's a lot of voters' apathy. I have a lot of interaction with the ordinary people through my advocacy and my various online media interaction. And I discover that there's a lot of voters' apathy, rightly, because people will tell you that you vote, your votes don't count. But I've been able to encourage people consistently that he who refused to vote is worse than those that sold their vote. I think that is where we actually need to start from. Voters' education, sensitization, and awareness. If you do not do that, you cannot, it is a practical impossibility for anybody to just come out and say the Patutomis, the Mazis, Ohuabunwa, Atairu Jega, to come out and say you want to lead a complex country like Nigeria, because the people who ordinarily should vote for you will tell you that you won't win. When you ask them why, they will say because you don't have structure. But they forget that they are the structures that you need. So there is a disconnect. You need to create that bridge to let them understand that they are the structure that can drive you to that platform that will create a new Nigeria. But if you feel you can just come and say, I want to do the job, leaving out those who will push you, who you will use as a pedestrian to get to that platform where you will be able to do the job, then you will, at the end of the day, you still have what happened in 2019, where the likes of Fela Toye, Kingsley Mogalo and co. came out as popular as they were on Twitter and Instagram, but that couldn't translate to actual vote. So that's why, for me, there's need for us now to be talking to the voters, those on what you call the unbanked, those who are not voting are more than those who are actually voting. So if you have that population, if you have half of that population that are not voting to join in the voting, I can tell you, the likes of Mazi and co will be able to win election in Nigeria. Let me bring in
Mazi Sam again, because Mazi Sam, I'm excited that Liborous has raised some of the key concerns we also raised on the square just this week. We had some other politicians, and they spoke about structure, and it is very key, knowing that you are a professional and you are one of the leading voices on the continent, you know, in terms of your own profession and key issues. But listen to Liborous, he's saying some of the key, you know, concerns of the average Nigerian, and he wouldn't want to see a repeat of what happened in the last election, where for the first time Nigeria witnessed, you know, a huge amount, substantial amount of new entrants. So tell us, what will likely change as we move towards 2023?
Thank you, and I want to thank Oshoma for the very wonderful opening shot he made. You know, the truth is this, that sometimes I ask myself, why am I coming to politics at this fairly elderly age? And the answer that comes to my mind is that God lets you to understand the system very well, to be able to be in tune with the reality on the ground, not floating in the air. And just as my liberals talked about being popular in Instagram and Facebook. I mean, nobody has won election in Nigeria that way. Maybe in America, yes. So this was why the first thing we've done when I received the motivation and decided that we needed to go and implement this vision to build a new Nigeria that will be a first world nation and that will work for all. The first thing we were asked to do was to go to the 36 states of Nigeria and enthrone and establish New Nigeria Group. So as I speak with you now, we have 36 state structure of New Nigeria Group established in state headquarters, and all work is ongoing to establish them in local governments and wards. As I speak to you today, we have the number of wards in the country. We understand the number of polling booths that exist in the country, and we know that you can be as popular as you can be somewhere. If you can't get people to vote for you, then there's a problem. So we are taking that lesson. However, Aledeh, it is more than even having people to vote for you. Because in Nigeria today, people do vote, which is causing the apathy, and their votes do not count, which is the other issue we have to deal with and we have been trying to deal with, which is let people vote, even if there are 2 people that voted or 10 people that voted, let that vote be counted for whom they voted it. That's the minimum expectation. And that's why we are praying for this electronic transmission of votes from polling units straight to the server so that you can monitor your result the way it is done in America and some developed nations, and stop these interventions at so-called collation centers where those with state power and who can manipulate can begin to change things. And when you raise this issue, they say, go to court. So we end up having a nation where the Supreme Court will establish who the governor is instead of the people that voted. That's a major issue. Oshoma will agree with me that the people are worried that their votes do not count in this matter. And if we don't deal with this, even the efforts we are making today to establish structures, to find, have people, looking for people who can vote at the polling booth, to sell our vision to them, we might have issues. So that's one critical thing. But in terms of structure, we believe that also you need more than just these structures we're doing in our given system. Any new party, groups of them that do not have a significant proportion of what I call the state power, and we do not have electronic transmission of votes, then we are in for a big, big battle. We need divine intervention. We need miracle to allow the state, the principalities and powers of politics to allow the results to reflect the people's will. This will mean that in the village square, Nigerians must rise up and insist that we should have electronic transmission. If we get that done, then we're on our way to getting the kind of president, the kind of governor, the kind of senator that Nigerians actually want. And that's for me, it's where I think we need all the help we can get from the public and the civil society.
Very well then. Let me bring in Liborous. Liborous, let me give, paraphrase a quote from you, Liborous. You said recently that the best birthday gift an 18-year-old in Nigeria today should give himself or herself should be a voter card. And you were saying that you know, referring to the online registration of voters by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Apart from the voter registration, listening to Mazi Ohuabunwa, what are those other key things you would want to see Nigerians do that can actually change the discourse, the narrative, that will make them see a different, you know, election in 2023?
Yeah, thank you. I insist every day, it has been my slogan for some time now, that the best gift you can give to yourself, 18 years, once you're 18, is to go and register to participate in the affairs of your country. Instead of looking for a big brother, you be the big brother that your country needs. And then I agree with Mazi that until we get electronic transmission of results, we would have taken a leap from where we are as day from ninth. But for me, I already have given up on electronic transmission. I have it at the back of my mind that the political class presently do not want to give us electronic voting because they know that will sound the death knell of their existence politically. So they don't want that. So let's look beyond electronic transmission of votes. That's why I'm now answering your question, what should Nigerians do? Let me give you a practical example. I do election petition, pre-election and election petition matters at the tribunal. And I discovered one thing. With the introduction of card reader, INEC, the Supreme Court said, no, you can't reckon over voting with card reader. It has to be the voters register. So that's where the manipulation actually comes in. If you have 1 million voters in the register, at the end of the day, you have 400,000 actual voters. What you have are 600,000 ballot papers unused, 600,000 empty votes that can be used by a would-be election rigger. So when that happens, what the man will simply do is to allocate the extra 600,000 votes during collation. But if 80% of us come out to vote, and then you have 800,000 actual voters and just 200,000, you know, absent. So it becomes very difficult. And then you have a winner with a majority of, let's say, 600,000 to 200,000. If you like, add the extra 200,000 remaining to the other votes of the man, it will still not tally. So that was what happened in Owerri. So because we refuse to participate, it becomes easy for them to take those votes that we have left untouched. That's why I keep talking about the unbanked. It's easy for them to now take those votes and add to theirs during collation. That is why nobody will give you election transmission of results on the platter of gold. Why we are insisting on election transmission of results, which we know that the political class will not give us because that will be the beginning of their end. But let us now begin to look for a plan B. A plan B for me is let us all come out en masse and vote. If we all come out en masse and vote, you will discover that the rigging process will be very minimal, because also you cannot rig election in a place where you are popular. We say our votes don't count, but the politicians buy the votes. Do you buy something that does not count? That's where the actual votes, the one that we actually vote, do count, but it is the ones that are not voted that they use to manipulate the process. And then now brings me to the issue of a ballot box snatching and shooting and the rest. It is not in every polling unit that there will be ballot box snatching, that there will be shooting and the rest. So once you have majority of us, definitely you're going to have crisis in one or two places. But when you have majority come out en masse to participate in the process, even those that want to snatch those ballot boxes, the least among us, they also feel the pain. And in some point, when they get to some of these places, they also will see those that they will know. So some of them will, the hardened ones will want to confront the process, while the other ones will say, you know what, this is a new era, and you cannot, no matter how strong you are, you cannot come against an idea whose time has come. That's why I'm looking at
sorry to butt in here, Liborous. Let me at this point in time bring in Mazi Ohuabunwa, because I'm looking at so many issues you've just reeled out, put on the plate, and one of the key things that I would want Mazi Sam to help us here on RAP has to do with how you can bring different category of persons in the society to weigh in. Whether you like it or not, listening to Liborous, we understand that we have people who are disenchanted, people who are also going to be first-time voters. We are also looking at people who also are the Thomases, who believe that, hey, come on, our votes don't count. But for politicians, they understand the importance of that particular ballot from that individual. So how are you, now that your group is in the 36 states and Abuja in Nigeria, have you been able to make an incursion in terms of voter, education, sensitization, and tell us if that is ongoing, and how well have you been able to cover some of the, places you've been to in Nigeria?
My brother, let me answer your question straight then before I make additional comments on the challenges we face. To be sincere to you, and with due respect and modesty, we are very, very well conversant with how Nigerian political system runs, and we do know that voter apathy exists. We also do know, which is another issue, that a significant number on the so-called voter register, INEC register, are fictitious names. They don't exist. Anybody can become anybody when the chips are down. Again, that's another matter which Liborous raised indirectly, because even if all of us came to vote, you still find fictitious people whose names are on that voters register, who, actual people can never match. But I agree with him on the issue of if you're popular. But beyond being popular, there are two areas of weakness in our electoral processes today, two very clear areas. One is on behalf of the regulatory or government, one is on behalf of the contestants. Number one is that I have always said that the weakest point in the electoral cycle, assuming things were even to go on well, is at the polling booth, which is the primary point of election. And I wonder why we are giving that responsibility to youth corpers, who can be easily frightened, who can be easily bought. I mean, why don't we give that job to university lecturers, to the more advanced people who can stand their ground, who can refuse to be intimidated, who cannot be easily bought? Because, most of this, even buying votes, increasing voting for using unused ballots to fill, they happen at the polling booths. And I have been there many times over, and the electoral officer will be compromised. Youth corper, which is police and civil defense, they'll be compromised. Somebody who is more popular or who has more money will buy the votes and buy the extra voting cards or ballot papers. I've seen it happen. Now, related to that, on the side of the contestants, is that I wonder the caliber of people they put as polling agents. Those who stay in the pool, you have come to represent somebody, and then they tell you they'll pay you some money so that the other person, the votes can be counted, or the ballot papers can be filled for the other guy, and then you will agree with them. That's what goes on. There is a conspiracy between the INEC people and the agents. Otherwise, they will not sign the because you have to sign at the end, your signature at the end. So for me, what we are doing, God helping us, because you can never have 100% certainty, is that we have decided that the people that will be our agents are going to be the people that will be paid highest in the chain of either people who are working for us or people who are going to support us or who got to volunteer. Those people are the pulling boots. We are hoping to give them the best compensation, that it will not be easy for them to be bought up with 5,000 or 10,000 naira. That's one surety we're doing. But we also hope that government will listen and put more mature people. I mean, sometimes you couples arrive in a town, one contestant will go and house them, give them where to sleep, provide them, because government never makes adequate arrangement, give them where to sleep. The next morning he brings them to the polling booths, and they are beholden to him. So this is a major area that we need improvement about. Collecting votes, which is, even if we are done sincerely, it's arithmetical work, which a primary school person can do. But in the polling point, we need people who are matured, who can resist inducement, who can stand their grounds. Unfortunately, it's the reverse. They put the very important job to be done by the least qualified, least resilient, and they go and stay in the office to do calculation of votes. I think this is something Liborous and people like him should begin to help trumpet, so that government should look at that, especially if we're going to put focus on polling votes, if we're ever going to get to the point of transmitting. So that result there is critical. So I think I've revealed one of the things we are doing ourselves. We are getting people to register. We're running parallel registration campaigns. We belong to different NGOs, who are involved in registering people. There is one NGO that I know that is determined to register 10 million people. Another one wants to register 30 million people. They are doing that, and they are collecting evidence. So we are in cahoots supporting them, because that's part of the way to make sure what Liborous has said, that we get the right people, come to the polling booth and vote. And if we have a good number of people voting for us, they will probably defend their votes and make it difficult for the fraudsters to do whatever. Is it snatching? Is it stuffing? Whatever it is. If there are enough people who are in support of you, then it may not be easy. These are some of the lessons we've learned, that we need to pay attention to who our polling agents are, and to ensure that they are not the kind of people that, they tell me that a contestant doesn't need to know who is polling agents. He franchises to somebody. I say, I will not franchise that. That would be, everybody will be a returning agent, even if they are 2,000 or 5,000. I will personally be involved in knowing who they are, because I can't be busy making all these efforts, and all of us are investing in this. Then you go and put one guy who will take 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira and scuttle what you have done.
You see, I think that's the, sorry again to cut you there, that's the whole essence why we're having this conversation, to see how we can change the narrative towards 2023 election. We'll take a moment. When we come back, Liborous and Mazi Sam will be talking about the issues that will dominate the campaigns, the conversations as we move towards 2023 election in Nigeria. Stay with us. Well, the discourse about the 2023 elections talks about a change of direction, plans and patterns in Nigeria. Is our conversation, or rather our conversations today on VSA. Policies of progress need to replace self-serving ambitions, and the future of all Nigerians, the futures that all Nigerians look forward to. Now, key things here: how much of an impact the 2023 election will make on the development of the country is also tied to the choices of the people. Other than a new vision and direction, Nigeria needs a rekindled hope for the people. I still have Liborous Oshoma and Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa with me here on VSA. And let me quickly delve into some of those key concerns Nigerians are having. Liborous, let's start with you. Does Nigeria need a new vision and direction? And who's the ideal president? Now, we're talking about some of the key concerns that will dominate the conversation as we move towards that big year, 2023. Liborous.
Yeah, quickly, Sulai, let me quickly, also add to what Mazi said, his closing remark before the break, so that I can, overlap it with your question. Yeah, while as we speak, we are no longer discussing the issues that we have at the polling unit, even though you still have some of them. With the introductions of card reader failures and the rest, and the participation, a little bit increase in participation, excuse me, you see now that a lot of us were now focused on transmission, that where the manipulation actually takes place. We can all sit down at the polling unit and insist. We count the votes there. The votes are counted in our presence. We know how the numbers. We know the number of registered voters at the polling unit. We know the number of actual voters. And so we're scared of the manipulation. That is why I insist that if we come out, if you have more numbers at the polling unit, it becomes difficult for you now to either thumbprint the SS ballot papers, or so that's a strong area we need to consistently look at. And once we have that, it now becomes easy for us to now begin to take the issues. What are the issues that should shape the politics? Not PDP, whatever the slogan is, APC, change, and then they raise the person's hand, and that is all. No promise made, none delivered. And that's when people will now know that until you go interact with the people through debates, let the people know what you have to offer. That is how you can market yourself. And not because you belong to a famous political party. And so automatically, it is the market women, the Okada riders, and the, ordinary people in the everyday people that would vote because they believe, oh, this party has been in power, so let's just vote for them. The discerning, like you and I, will be able to interrogate any leader that is coming. What is antecedent? Where has he worked before? These issues that is promising, has he done them before? Not a situation where we begin to say, because you belong to a famous political party, ideas are so towards that you build bridges where there are no rivers. Whether you have certificate or not, just come and rule us. And because the rest of us, they know that we don't vote. Naturally, the debate would change. The discourse would change. We'll now begin to shape, the elites will now begin to shape the discussion because they would have been participating in the process. But when we do not participate in the process, Sulai, I can tell you, when you refuse to vote, if you will like, let us say that, for you to be president, you must meet so and so criteria. But the politicians, the political parties, the major political parties that know their voters, at the end of the day, they will bring a school cert holder and put a professor as running mate to him, and he will still win the election.
Well, I was going to chuckle on that, but I think I'll let that pass. Quickly, let me bring in Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa quickly here, because I'll come back again to you, Liborous, so that we'll talk about you know, the traits, the characteristics, you know, that we are likely to see in some of these candidates. Mazi Sam, you know, Zambia just got a new president, and going into history, one of the key things said to President Hichilema back then when he first contested, they called him the calculator boy. They said to him that, look, everything is about economics. You're a calculator boy. You're too young to come in as president. But he persisted, and today he's president trying to bring his country out of the doldrums and out of huge debt. Now, what are those key characteristics that Africans and even Nigerians should be looking out for in those who present themselves like yourself, in anyone or a man or a woman who says, I want to become a president?
Well, thank you very much. I believe that 2023 may not be like the other elections. Liborous said it. The political parties will only be a platform to deliver a candidate. It's just like you looking for a taxi to go from Lagos Island to Yaba or to Ikeja. any political platform, any taxi you find, any bus that can take you there safely. For me, that's what political platforms will be in 2023. What is critical is what will you bring? What are you bringing? What is the individual working with a party? It is not going to just be a party alone. The factor of the individual will always play a role. Then the quality of leadership, because Nigerians are convinced that the problem with Nigeria is essentially deficit in leadership. For me, to be in my book, Nigeria, Need for the Evolution of New Nigeria, a new nation, I listed 22 core competencies of a leader that can fit into, and I'm not going to go to that, but I think there are three things I must speak about. First is that leader must have competence. We're looking for a competent leader. And how is competence measured? Just as Liborous said, what have you done before? What did you dream about? What did you accomplish? Where have you built structures? What institutions have you built? Where have you created value? Have you run organizations? Have you borrowed money from the bank before? Used it to build institutions or companies and pay back your capital and interest and still left something? How many people, how many businesses have you been involved in founding and employing people? What have you done in your community? Is there anybody that can bear witness of what you've done in your community, that you understand the issues that affect the common man? Where do you know in Nigeria? You know, how are you related to the people? Are you touching base with them? Do you feel what they feel? Those are issues that will follow after competence. Competence is critical, because if we don't have a competent person, he will never take a decision. He will never finish anything. He'll be round and round, running up and down, and pays no attention that time is money. Number two, we need a man with character. Competence is important because you must deliver on your KPIs. But if you don't have a good character, the character will ruin what your competence has done. So we need somebody that is a man of integrity and a man that is believable. A man that when we look at where he's coming from, he may not have been an angel, a woman, but you cannot see him involved in overt or covert corruption, shady deals, subverting institutions and constitutions, bending the rules to suit. All of us should come with our track record. I remember when I wanted to be given my first national honor, member of the Order of the Niger in 2001. They went to my primary school to talk to my headmaster, to check with my classmates. Everything I filled in my form, where did I do my youth service? They went and talked to my mother, talked to my school, to my primary school teacher. I didn't believe it. But that's the kind of thing we need to do now in selecting our leader. We shouldn't gamble anymore. we should have people who can fight for their character, that they have come, maybe they may not have been saints at a particular, all their life, but when they got at a point and they become newborns or born again, and they began from that point, you can see a consistency of a reversal of character. So character, especially the characters of integrity, related to honesty, ability to envision, someone that is visionary, who can see tomorrow, and who is not held back by the limitations of this present. Those are the things that get into character. Empathy, the person must be educated, has a broad mind, can argue with you, and understand that nobody has all the knowledge. And must be somebody who can work with teams. Because what we need, and the kind of leadership I'm going to provide, is that the kind of leadership a CEO provides. His primary responsibility is to hire his direct reports, his executive directors or lieutenants, or whatever name you call them, general managers. And if they are competent people, then he knows how to set measurable indices of performance, and then provides them the resources and motivation and training to be able to deliver and be able to measure the deliverables on a time scale. And if those deliverables are not being met, you change them, you train them, or you get them out. Thirdly, my brother, we must have a president or a leader who is courageous. We have had leaders that look like they were competent. We have had those that looked like they had character, but in area of courage, they failed. They couldn't look at their enemy on the face and tell them the truth, and their friend on the face and also tell them, no, this is not doable. You know, this kind of leaders who are looking more be self-sacrificing. They are looking for nothing for themselves. They must be willing to die in the course of duty if death is required to be able to achieve the objective. If you don't get to the level where you are ready to die, to lay your life, you shouldn't be president of Nigeria in 2023, because you need to change things. You need to deal with security. You need to deal with the economy. You need to deal with social harmony. You need to deal with cohesion of the state. You need to rearrange the country to work in a manner that the liberating, the constituent units of Nigeria will have some freedom to perform and compete. These actions will require courage.
Let me bring in Liborous again, Mazi Sam. Let me quickly bring in Liborous. Liborous, one of the things Mazi Sam has said a lot, and one of the things I picked there that I want you to stretch for us, while you also tell us more about the key attributes of who should become president in 2023. He said we shouldn't gamble anymore. That's Mazi Sam. Has Nigeria been gambling with those who lead them?
Yeah, Sulai, Nigerians have been gambling. In fact, gambling is even a better word to use. You see, you are not a human being except the government says you are a human being. You are not a graduate unless the government says you are. You are not, you can't even run a TV station or a radio station except the government says you can. You can't travel except the government says yes, you can travel. You can run transport. You are not educated except the government says you are educated. And so, yet, we see the enormous powers of the president of Nigeria. That is somebody who will decide whether you can be all these things and more. When it's time to elect that person, we will rather leave it for God. But when it's time, if somebody insults God now, we want to fight that battle. But when somebody insults us, we will say, let God do the fight for us. That is how much, we have left our responsibility in determining who governs us. So the narrative must change. And it is only then that you can say, yes, truly, we're involved in the process. For now, Nigerians don't participate. That is why politicians will tell you debaters don't win election, because those people that listen to debate don't vote. That is why you will have more voters on Big Brother Nigeria than actual voters to determine whether Big Brother will even exist. So that is how much we have relegated our responsibility in terms of, determining who governs us. That's how lackadaisical we have been. That's why I said gambling is even a better word. So what should we do? What we should do? I can't shy away from the fact. President Muhammadu Buhari, he came. Nobody asked the question. The intelligentsias who should be asking, this man wants to fight corruption. Has he ever, from 1984 when he left power to 2015, has he ever delivered a seminar somewhere on how to fight corruption? Has he ever delivered a seminar anywhere on how to grow an economy? Nobody asked those questions. Instead, we said he's a retired general. He will fight insecurity. Nobody is asking, has he ever given a template on how to solve this security situation we already had in the country at that time, like some of us were doing? No, not at all. We were all carried away with the heads mentality, the bandwagon effect of he will change 1 naira to $1. He will end Boko Haram. He will give free meal. All of those are campaign slogans. We do not interrogate. We do not discuss. They talk at us. At campaign levels, when they get there, they hire musicians, they sing, they shout their slogans, and it ends there. Nobody's asking questions. What are the modalities? I am happy that now we're gradually beginning to have a culture, a debating culture, even though you still see politicians shy away from it. So what we should be doing now is not just to sit down and discuss the process. We should also interact the content, the capacity, the age of the idea of the people that wants to govern us. That when we do that, we can now take the message to the people. We also will not be shy to put them on the top burner at discussions like this to say, hey, I have looked at the resume, the competence, the credibility, the character of Mr. A, and I do not think he fits the bill. I have looked at Mr. A, B, and C. I think he put on the scale, C should be better. That is how you also shape opinion. But if you allow the ordinary people who do not even know how to dig into the content of the character of those that wants to lead, it becomes heads mentality. And then the last one, very key, this idea of creating a divorce between the elite and the what you call area boys or the non-elite. There's need for us to begin to close that gap at our individual level. In your area where you live, there's need for you to relate with the everyday people. These are the people that would gatekeep. They are the first line of charge when it comes to election. They are the ones that even determine who should govern the rest of us. So if we close in the gap, we'll be able to listen to their language. They'll be able to also listen to us when we advise them on what to look out for. But otherwise, the politicians had consistently hold them prisoners. And the only language they understand is still give a little to them. And, at the end of the day, they determine whoever would carry the
Thank you, Liborous.
And then they tell you the eyes have it.
Let me close. Let us close with Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, and it's about something he's actually spoken about, and he's actually given it different synonyms in the past, and it is restructuring. We must be able to ask you about that before we leave today's show. Should you be successful leading Nigeria from 2023, would you still go about, how would you go about restructuring, which you have said is so important to Nigeria?
Well, I think the issue is that, like even my friend just said, there's something I've noticed. Leaders want to impose their will. They think they know everything and everybody else knows nothing. I've made this case that this country does not belong to one single person. Every one of us is an equal stakeholder. If Nigeria was a limited or a PLC, we have one vote each. I own as much Nigeria as you, Mr. Aledeh owns it, as Liborous owns it, as Buhari owns it. So that is the first thing I continue to say, that we must be sure that nobody tells you that you are less owner of a country. You are a country and everybody has a share. And because everybody has a share, you do not impose your will or caprices. No matter if you're a wonderful visionary like I am, the only way my vision will go forward is that I have succeeded in selling the vision to my followers, and they can see where I want to take them, and they are ready to follow me. As long as they are not seeing it and they are not ready to follow me, I'm going nowhere. My job will be to continue to discuss with them, enlighten them, bring sharper vision, produce more light, point arrays, till they see where we want to go. And they must know that that's a better place than where we are. That's why people live where they are to follow, is that where you're taking them is a better place. So for me, restructuring is made as if it is something that never existed. All of us in our different institutions, in our houses, in our corporations, in our mosques, in our churches, we are restructuring every day. But when people want to make, political mind out of something, they give it a different name. A system that is not working the way it is designed. And how do you know that the system is not working the way it's designed? It is that it's not producing the expected results. Nigeria was created to create a country that is harmonious, where the people are living happily with themselves, where they are producing goods and services, exporting any foreign exchange, where their quality of life is improving by the day. Today, we have a country that people are dying without even having an accident. Quality of life is going down. Life expectancy is going down. Corruption index is worse. Unemployment has gone out of control. Poverty is increasing. Do I need to beg anybody to understand that the system that is delivering poverty, delivering joblessness, delivering low human development index, delivering low quality of life, delivering low life expectancy, high mortality, that system is not working? Do I need to beg anybody? It's to present the picture and ask Nigerians, this system you are following is not true. So what do we do? Should we continue to follow this way and enter into the ditch, or should we make changes? And I leave it for Nigerians to make a decision. And I can assure you that Nigerians will say, no, this is not leading us where we're going to go. We suggest we should look the other way. The moment that suggestion comes, that is the restructuring we're heading for. So it's going to be something we're going to spend energy getting civilians, getting citizens to, in a structured manner, determine whether that country is working.
Mazi Sam, it's a fine place for us to leave it today. I'd like to thank you very much for being such nice company, as well as Liborous. Thank you very much, Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa and Liborous Oshoma. And I'm excited, Mazi Sam, that, well, there wasn't any glitch. I was afraid, because Mazi Sam is very far off in the southeast of Nigeria, where ordinarily some would have thought that the connectivity, internet penetration should have been low, but it's a fine one. I must commend the community, those taking charge of the community where you are in Umwa here.
We can do transmission from here.
Absolutely.
We can transmit the post from here.
We'll do all of that. And of course, to you, Liborous, many thanks.
Mazi, by thanks, Mazi, please help me beg your governor. He needs to do more in that state, please.
All right, okay, Liborous, I think he said that. The future of Nigeria is in the hands of the people. And remember that your vote counts. If they don't elections won't command such resources. Remember, make your votes count. I'm Sulaiman. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.